Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. You all look super duper tired, but it is August 24th, 2020, and it is your ninth day of school. Today is a longer day, like I said, and I'll explain it when we go into the schedule. So we're just going to begin, okay? You pretty much know our greetings, and so I'm just going to hold it up and then you'll greet with me. So Gabriella, you'll go first. What would you like to do with me this morning? Oh, air hug. Thank you, Gabriella. Mute your mic. Kane. Good morning, Kane. Amani. Good morning, Amani. Connor. Good morning, Jamarcus. Noah. Good morning, Noah. Wilfred. Good morning, Wilfred. Emily. Good morning, Emily. I know you guys are still very tired. Ashlyn. Good morning, Ashlyn. And finally, Drake. Good morning, Drake. Okay, guys, we'll do our greeting to each other. Hopefully it's an easy one because you guys look just so tired. Oh, no. Who's doing greeting of the day? Batman. Marcus, you get to do greeting of the day today. Okay? So our greeting of the day is peace sign. That's just easy, okay? Good morning, Jamarcus.
Good morning.
Good job. Okay, Jamarcus, can you say good morning to Gabriella and do the peace sign?
Good morning, Elearning.
Thank you. You may mute yourself. And finally, Quentin, can you say good morning to Drake? He's like passed out. Quentin. Oh, sweetie, you gotta wake up. Quentin, can you say good morning to Drake? Good job. Thank you. All right. You may mute yourself. Guys, I know it's Monday. You poor things are so tired. Okay, what you could do is you can kind of stand up if you need to. Or on your hour lunch break, you could just take an hour nap, okay? All right, let's do Marvin. Batman. Gabriella. Okay, Gabriella, you get to do Marvin. So I know you got a couple of pets. You want to show us one of them? Okay, she has a cat. You may unmute yourself, Gabriella. All right, so tell us about your little furry friend there.
She has a stubbed tail, and she's over 1 year old.
Okay, she's one, and a stub tail means kind of like the tail is just shorter. Do you have a favorite, like, memory with your cat?
No, she's pretty mean to me.
She's pretty mean. Okay, all right, so we're going to take 3 questions from you guys. Who would like to ask Gabriella about her cat? You want to ask the question, and then it will be Drake.
What's your kitty's name?
Hi, Jamarcus's brother or whoever that is. What is your kitty's name?
Her name is Cindy.
Cindy. I like that. Okay, and then finally Drake.
Why?
Drake, you want to answer your question? So, has your cat ever tried to like climb the wall? Because you know how at night cats tend to go nuts and they start running up and down walls and down the furniture and stuff.
You need like catnip and one of those red things that you swing around.
Yeah.
And she will go crazy. If you put it on the wall, she will go back away like she's not going to do that, but then start racing over and pound her face in the wall to get it.
Oh, poor thing. All right. Hey, thank you so much, Gabriella, for sharing your pet with us today. You may mute yourself. All right. So we're going to move into question of the day. You guys already know that's my favorite. All right. Batman. Kane. Is Kane here? Yeah, Kane. Your question of the day. Okay. So let me get the bag. All right. Our question of the day is, what in school do you need the most help with? So, like, what subject in school do you need the most help with? Mine was history. Well, you don't do history until you go to, like, middle school and high school. But I think history is so boring that I would fall asleep in class. I mean, I don't want to read about some old men 200, 300 years ago fighting over some dumb stuff and creating war, okay? So, like, history, my teacher used to get mad at me because I used to just pass out in class and be like, no. All right, so the one who got it was Kane. So, Kane, what's the subject in school you need the most help with?
Math.
Math. Okay, that's common. Thank you, Kane. Gabriella, what's the subject you need most help with?
My most enemy of all the maths is probably dividing.
Dividing. So it's we're talking kind of like the subject. So I'm guessing you're thinking math. Okay, thank you, Gabriella. Amani,
No,
what's your
math.
subject?
Math.
Math. Okay. Jamarcus?
Music.
Music. Oh, you know we don't got the same music teacher no more, right? She's not here no more. She retired. What was her name? Ms. Dawson?
Yeah.
Yeah, she retired. You guys got a new music teacher. All right. Thank you, Jamarcus. Noah, you want to tell us the subject that you need the most help with?
Yeah, it's writing.
Oh,
I think it's
writing.
boring.
What? Man, I love to write. Thank you, Noah. Wilfred, what's your subject? And I was watching your face when I was talking about history. You had me cracking up. I was watching you. What's that subject that you like? If I don't have to, if they could just totally cut it out of school, I'd be cool with it.
Times?
So math, like times tables, like multiplication.
Yeah, I know how to do it,
But you just don't like it. Okay. All right. Thank you, Wilfred. Emily, what's your subject?
reading.
Reading. Okay. All right. Thank you, Emily. Ashlyn, what's your subject?
Math and science.
Math and science. I try to keep science fun in the classroom, but I can understand how some people think science is boring. All right, thank you, Ashlyn. Drake, what's your subject? Multiplying? Okay, so math. All right, cool. Quentin, what's the subject that you have the hardest time with? Math? That's what you said? Math? Okay, thank you. Cervantes, what's your subject?
Reading.
Reading. Okay, Connor, what's your subject?
Homework.
Oh, well, homework's not a subject, but you just don't like homework? Okay. Okay, so Jada, what's the subject you don't like the most in school?
Gym.
Oh, gym? Okay. All right, guys, so we're just going to move on. And now I'm going to talk to you about the schedule today because we are moving into a longer day. And so we're no longer only just going from 8 to 10:30. We now have to go from 8 to 2 o'clock as if you were in school. But like I said, you have a very long, we're still going to take our 5-minute breaks after each subject. But after our writing block, you'll have a full hour for lunch. So you'll be gone for a whole hour and then you'll come back to me. So I'll just go through our morning. So we got 8 o'clock morning meeting, 8:25 poem of the week. We got a new poem and then pledge. 8:30 today is your spelling practice, but today is not a game. Today you will take your first practice test off of the words that you've been doing for 2 weeks, okay? Because come Friday, you'll take your first spelling test. All right, at 8:45 we got reading block. Make sure that all of you, when it's time for reading block, you bring your what do you have? Your MyView textbook, okay? Because today we'll be going in our textbooks. After reading block, we'll be doing small groups. During that time, you're gonna kind of get confused, but during reading group, only a few of you will stay in the meeting. I will kick most of you out, because I will be with those kids working with them one-on-one for about 10 minutes. And then the second group will sign back in and come to me and I will kick the first group out, do 10 minutes of one-on-one with them. After 10 minutes, kick them out. So it could be kind of confusing, but we will get through it, okay? All right, then after reading small groups, we'll have our writing block. You know how to do it. You just click on that writing document and you got 7 new writing prompts this week to choose from. And then after writing block, I told you you have an hour-long lunch break from 10:50 to 11:50. Then when we come back, we'll be having math. So make sure that you come with your Go Math textbook, okay? And then after our math block, we will go into math rotations, just kind of like reading. I know this is a lot, guys. I'll walk you through it. Then after math, we'll have science. So you have to learn science and social studies, but we do it bi-weekly. So you learn science for 2 weeks, and then after the 2 weeks, we do social studies for 2 weeks, and then we just keep switching. So science and social studies switches every 2 weeks. Then after science, we'll go into our reading of Old Yeller, our page and a half. And then at 2 o'clock, we'll have final thoughts. Now, I put it from 8 to 2 because we're supposed to go 8 to 2. But if you guys are on point, if you're focused, and we get our stuff done, I don't think we're going to go all the way to 2 o'clock. Okay? So if you're focused, we might be able to get done before 2 o'clock. Okay? All right. So after schedule, let's go into our pledge and our poem of the week. So at this time, everybody unmute your mic. All right, guys, let's bust it out. In Mrs. Nagy's class.
In Mrs. Nagy's class.
We use kind words.
We use kind words.
And work hard.
And work hard.
We work quietly.
We work quietly.
And help.
And help.
We are kind.
We are kind.
Happy.
Happy.
And respectful.
Respectful.
We respect our classroom.
We respect our classroom.
And always keep it clean.
And always keep it clean.
We are a great classroom.
We are a great classroom.
All right, guys, mute your mic. Okay, guys, so if you know, I texted your parents over the weekend. I was like, hey, I'm doing my first grading. Can you make sure that the kids do their writing homework, right? Well, I would say 90% of you did great, and I got a couple excuses. So I decided to do one of my favorite poems, which is called All of My Excuses. My mother ran my homework through the washer and the dryer. An airplane crashed into our house. My homework caught on fire. Tornadoes blew my notes away. Volcanoes struck our town. My notes were taken hostage by an evil killer clown. I worked on these excuses so long my teacher said, I think you'll find it easier to do your work instead. So believe it or not, I have had some students tell me some of these excuses. Raise your hand if you think these excuses are ridiculous for not doing your homework. Right? I had one kid tell me, no, a tornado went through our town and just blew our house away. And I was like, well, I didn't hear about no tornado on the news. Where? How did the tornado just go toward you and pass me? And we live in the same state. How is that possible? Right? But I've never had a kid tell me that their homework got stolen by a killer clown. I just thought it would be funny, you know? All right. So that's our poem of the week. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you liked it. I like it. Okay. All right. Now, you know what? I want to do another thing. Raise your hand if you've ever told your teacher a ridiculous excuse for not doing your homework. I got a couple. See? Being honest. Be honest, you know? Yeah. All right. Okay, so what we'll do right now is we'll take our first 5-minute break because we just finished morning meeting, okay? So go ahead, potty, chill, relax, and we'll come back at 8:36, okay? So go ahead, your first 5-minute break. So at this time, I want everybody to click on their spelling assignment link. You'll click on the first button, okay? You'll click on the first button. You'll do that now and you'll take your first practice test. Don't worry about the score. Just figure out which words you need to practice. All right, go ahead, guys. Okay. When you guys get done with it, you only have to take it once. The objective for today is just that you kind of see the words that you struggle with so that you can kind of practice those so that come Friday, you guys get a 100 on your first spelling test. So can I kind of get like a thumbs up to see who's already done so I can kind of gauge who's still working? Okay. So I got a couple of people still working, so just be patient, okay? You can just relax. And then once I see all thumbs up, we'll move on, okay? So you may take a 3-minute break. We are moving into our whole group reading class, okay? So we have 2 portions of reading. It's the whole group that we do together. And then after whole group, we split off into smaller groups, and I will show you how, okay? All right, so here we go. So what we'll be discussing today in reading is called transportation, okay? Transportation. And our lesson objective for today is to discuss, research, and learn about the various modes of transport in which people use to travel in various areas of the environment, okay? I know you're probably like, what? We're not really reading today? No, on Mondays we tend to do more of a discussion. Your standard for this, and I'm not going to read the standard, but this is for teachers or if Miss Mass ever looked at this document and made sure that Miss Nagy was teaching to the standards. We always have an I can statement for our lessons because my job is to make you understand or feel confident that you took away the knowledge I was trying to give you. So my hope is that after this lesson, all of you can say, I can learn how people travel in different areas, or I have learned how people travel in different areas. So before every lesson, we do what is called a self-assessment, okay? So what a self-assessment is, you'll just pretty much give me like a rating 1 to 5 using your fingers. Some of the self-assessments are like that, but some of the assessments like the one here, I will call on you, you'll unmute your mic, and we'll talk, okay? So our self-assessment today is, what are the different ways you have traveled? So I want to give you about like 20 seconds to think about that, and then I'm going to call on you guys to share. So what are the different ways that you have traveled? Pretty much getting from point A to point B. Okay, so I'm just going to go down the line. I see Wilfred's hand and then Drake, okay, and then Amani. So Wilfred, can you tell me one of the few ways that you've traveled? You don't need to tell me where you traveled to, but just what are the modes of transportation that you've used? Okay, car, thank you. Drake, you want to share one of your modes of transportation?
A plane.
Okay, plane, cool. Gabriella?
I've been walking.
Walking, believe it or not, is a mode of transportation because a lot of people in different areas, say for example, and we'll talk about it today, some people have to walk through forests and through valleys because that area can't have a car go through it. So yes, walking is a mode of transportation. It helps you to get from point A to point B. Amani, you want to share one of your modes of transportation?
A car.
Okay, so we got a car. Okay, Kane, you want to share?
A boat.
Good, a boat. Good job. Then it was Cervantes, and then it will be finally Quentin, and then we'll move on. So Cervantes, you want to talk about a mode of transportation you've used?
I don't know what I'm saying right now. What are we doing?
Oh, okay. So I'm glad that you were honest and said that you don't know what that means. So when someone says what's a mode of transportation you've used, they're saying how have you traveled before? So car, train, boat, what's a helicopter? Parachute. Like what's a way that you have traveled before? Motorcycle is one of them too. Truck.
A car or airplane.
Okay. So it's kind of typical that we've been like in cars and trains. All right, guys. So I'm going to go back to our slide. So today we like I said, We were talking about modes of transportation. All right, so that is our self-assessment. The reason why we do self-assessments in the beginning is because we want to first see where we start off in the lesson. And then it's kind of cool to go through the lesson and see everything that you've learned, okay? So we will do an additional self-assessment at the end of the lesson. So our essential question today is, how do people travel in different environments, okay? So how do different people travel in different areas? So I am going to call on you to respond, but I want to kind of give you an example to kind of gauge or help you to answer. So one way that people travel in a different environment is by camel. You know, like in the desert, people travel by camel. That's one way that's different from ours. Does anyone want to tell us another way that someone travels in a different area? So Noah, you want to tell us how people travel, one way people travel in a different environment from our own?
By horses.
By horses. Good job. Does anyone else want to share? Okay, Quinton, go ahead. A motorcycle. You know, people in Western society, meaning, you know, like America, we travel by motorcycles, but people everywhere, even in Britain, travel by motorcycles. One way, and we'll move on, one way that people travel in a different environment to our own is, raise your hand if you've ever seen in a movie, which I'm pretty sure all of you have if you watched Frozen. One way is by a dog sled, okay? So in like a really cold area, they travel by dog sled, okay? Cervantes, and then we'll move on.
A horse and buggy.
Good job. Good job. A horse and buggy.
A rickshaw.
What was that?
A rickshaw.
What is that?
For mode of transportation.
Can you tell me what
they
that
use
is?
in India, the rickshaw, what they use in India to get around, it's like a horse and buggy, but it's pulled by a person.
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's like that thing where people sit on it and and pretty much people run. It's weird. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay. All right, guys, so we're running a little slow or behind. So we're going to move on now with the lesson. And our lessons are very discussion based. In our classroom, we really don't write stuff down. We do a lot of discussions. So right now, I'm going to ask you guys a question. What do we know about the modes of transportation now? Okay. So with our essential question, we pretty much like answered that. We know that based off of your answers, some modes of transportation are horse. We have plane. I believe some said car, bike, walking. And we'll just give these kind of like an example. We won't write down everything that we've said, but these are some of the examples of your pre-knowledge telling me that you know some modes of transportation or the different ways that some people might travel. So now I'm going to ask you a question of what do we want to learn about the different modes of transportation? So during this lesson, what would we like to learn? Probably one example would be, how do people travel in Africa? That could be one. Gabriella, you want to respond on what you would like to learn about transportation? Quentin? In the West, like how, like that's a good one. I know in the Wild West a long time ago they traveled by horse. So Quentin said, how do they travel in the West? So that's one thing we can look up on how different people travel. What's another question? Does anyone have a question? All right, Noah, you want to share something that you want to learn?
How do people in China travel?
How do people in China travel? So how do they travel in China? So we can try to figure out some ways that they travel in China. We already discussed what we know about the different ways people travel, and then we go on to what we would like to learn. And when we do our lessons, it's always in this format, okay? Because it's always important to tell Miss Nagy what you already know and what you would like to learn. So at this time, we're going to turn to page 14 in our My View textbook, okay? And we are going to read and discuss. So I'm going to show you the page just so that you can be able to see which page me and Miss Nagy is on. But we are now in our My View textbook, and we are on page 14. And you kind of like see this map, okay? You kind of see this map, okay? What will happen now is you will follow along with your finger. Mrs. Nagy will read, because the only issue is that if she allows one of you to read right now, it'll probably be choppy. And so she's going to read currently, and we'll just follow along. So we're going to look at the beginning of the page. It says going from here to there. Give me a thumbs up if you're there. Okay, page 14. Give me a thumbs up if you're there. Good job. So at this time, I'll start reading, okay? If at any time I start to sound choppy or anything like that, just stop me, okay? All right. India's environment. The environment refers to the natural surroundings of a place. An environment may include landforms, weather, soil, and plants or animal life. So in the state of Indiana, one part of our environment is corn, right? You see corn everywhere. India is a country in Asia. The people of India get from place to place in many ways. So I want you to take your finger, and you're going to put your finger on the first box that says the North Indian Plain. Okay, and I'm going to read that to you. The North Indian Plain is a flat land where many people live. In the cities, people can travel by car and by train. So just a show of hands, who can relate that they've traveled by car and by train? All right, so far is India different from how we travel? Not really, because we've talked about cars and by train, so they travel by car and train in their city. Now I want you to take your finger and I want you to put it in the box right underneath the one we just read, which is red. And it says the Thar Desert lies in the west part of India. People travel across the dry, sandy desert on camels. Give me a show of hand if you've ever traveled by camel. Okay. All right. So Gabriella has, but that's kind of different, right? It's very different. It's a different form of transportation. Honestly, I'm going to be real. I don't care if I'm in the desert. I'm not traveling by camel. That's terrifying. I'm terrified of big dogs. You think I'm going to get on a camel? No way. I'm just going to walk. So now you're going to take your finger and you're going to put it on the blue box right underneath the red one that we just read. It says India has forest. Pretty much every continent and country has a forest. India has forests including tropical rainforest. People can move with their herds. Herds just means like a group of animals. Move with their herds on trails and roads, mostly on feet. So didn't I say walking is a mode of transportation? The people in India who live in villages and really, really small rural areas by the forest, they travel by foot, okay? They walk. That's their way of traveling. I'm glad I got a car because I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't want to walk 10 miles every day. We are now going to go to page 15, and we are going to read the top red bar. All right, so the Himalayas form the tallest mountains in the world. People travel short distances on foot. They use horses or pack mules. And remember, a mule is just like a donkey, kind of like our story where he has a mule, to carry supplies, okay? So these people don't really have, you can't really travel up a mountain with a car because it's like a steep thing. So if you go up a mountain with a car, you're going to fall right back down. And that's terrifying. So they use their feet, and then since it's a steep area, they use donkeys and mules to carry their belongings because it's tiring. All right, we're going to read the last box now that says, many other rivers join the Ganges River, pouring in melted snow from the Himalayas. Some rivers can be crossed in boats, okay? So clearly we all know in order to get over water, you need a boat or a canoe or I guess a raft of some kind in order to get over. So what we will do now after our reading of pretty much how people travel differently in India, you guys are going to respond by telling me one thing that you have learned about people traveling in India, the different ways. So Amani, you want to tell us one way you learned how people in India travel?
Yeah, some people in the villages have to walk on feet.
Some people in villages have to walk on feet. Would anyone else like to share what they learned about the different people? Drake and then Cervantes. They have to use mules up mountains. Good job. Cervantes, would you like to go?
Horses.
Okay. They travel by horses. Good job. So we're just going to continue to move down in our slide. So we pretty much have done this part already. It says, how do you travel differently than the people mentioned on pages 14 and 15? So would anyone like to pretty much describe how people in India travel differently from us? What is one way that they travel there that you've never traveled like? Drake and then Wilfred. Okay, so kind of like the donkey one going up the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good job. Wilfred?
These like, it's like a little car, like they call it a taxi. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one thing with 3 wheels.
So that's kind of like what Noah said, where it was like the 3-wheeled taxi, and it's kind of weird that people pull it. Like that. I'm sorry, but I am not pulling nobody in no taxi. No. Quentin, you want to go ahead? Go ahead.
So, like, imagine this: if you're like on a bike or like a motorcycle and you're driving up a hill.
Okay.
You will be falling down off the bike and off the motorcycle. It will be terrifying.
Yeah, so it's kind of like going up a hill. So, your car wheels and your motorcycle wheels, even your bicycle wheels, they have, like, if you've ever felt the bottom of the wheel, you kind of feel all those bumps and stuff. That is there to provide what is called traction. And so if you're riding up something very, very high and steep, you might lose what is called traction. Okay? And so if you don't have traction, you don't stick. You fall. So yes, if you're riding a bike, like Quentin said,
what is traction?
Traction is the connection of the wheel to the road. Okay? So pretty much the best way to explain it to you guys is, say for example, you're in the car with mommy and daddy or whoever, and it's snowing. Have you ever felt the vehicle move side to side or slip? Because there's no traction, okay? Because the wheel is not connecting with the road, okay? So yes, if you were to drive or ride a bike or a motorcycle up a really steep area, you might lose traction and fall back. So that's what that is, okay? Good job, guys. So we're now going to move on into our first video. And so we will watch the different modes of transportation.
We'll learn
Make
about
sure that you
modes of
keep your mic
transportation.
muted, okay?
In ancient times, boats, bullock carts, cart and horse-driven carriages were the only means of transportation. But nowadays, quicker means of transportation have been developed. The different modes of transportation can be divided into three main categories: land transportation, water transportation, air transportation. Let's first study about land transportation. It is the transportation of goods or passengers on roads. Different types of vehicles are used to cover distances. Bikes and scooters might be used for short distances. Whoa, it's a car. Some people use cars. Oh, look, a taxi is coming. We can cover short distances with taxis. This is a truck. Trucks are used for covering long distances and carrying heavy loads. Buses are an important mode of transportation. Almost all states in a country have their bus services, and thousands of people travel on them. Ah, this is a train. Trains carry people over long distances. We go from one state to another in trains. Now, some countries are also connected with rail lines. The first full-scale working railway steam locomotive was built in the United Kingdom in 1804 by Richard Trevithick, a British engineer born from Cornwall. Water transportation. It is the transportation of goods or passengers on bodies of water. It's also the cheapest and oldest mode of transportation. The boats are used for short distances. The ancient Egyptians were perfectly at ease building sailboats. Wow, this is a ship. Ships are used for covering large distances. Cargo ships, like oil tankers and freighters, are used for transportation of goods like oil, cars, and food items. Water transportation consumes less energy and allows larger shipping loads compared to other modes of transport. Now, air transportation. It is the transportation of goods or passengers by air. Today, almost all nations of the earth are interconnected by air transportation. We can go from one country to another country in very little time with airplanes. Airplanes were invented by the Wright brothers. The place where airplanes take off or land is called an airport. Shorter distances can be covered with helicopters. Wow, look here. Some people are flying on air balloons to travel short distances, and this is so fun. See this astronaut? Astronauts use spacecraft to explore space. The first manned spacecraft was Vostok 1. It carried Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin into space in 1961. So there are three modes of transportation: land, water, and air. See this chart. Land transportation, car, bus, and train. Water transportation, ships and boats. Air transportation, airplanes and helicopters. Stay tuned for more videos. Bye-bye.
Alright guys, so that was our video on transportation. We've talked about some of the different ways people use transportation, but what are some of the cool things that we saw in the video? Because one cool thing that I never even remembered is a hot air balloon. People, travel that way. Drake? Helicopters. Okay, so a helicopter. Ooh, I probably spelled that all wrong. Mrs. Nagy is not the best person at spelling. Wilfred, you want to tell us about a mode of transportation you saw in the video that you didn't think about?
Bus?
Yes, yes, buses, okay. New York is full of buses. So we talked about buses as well. That's a mode of transportation. Who else would like to share? Cervantes?
Airplanes.
Airplanes, yep. People travel by airplanes. And I think another really cool one that I saw in there that we don't really think about how people travel is our astronauts, man. Gabriella, would you like to share?
What I thought was that I didn't know they actually used carriages back in the day.
They did, but yeah, one of the earliest forms of traveling was by carriage, or wagon, and those people were called pioneers. Okay, if you've ever heard of those names, they were pioneers. Our exit slip for today in discussion is pretty much saying what is one way that you have personally learned from how people travel in different environments. So what I want to do for our exit slip is we're going to do our second self-assessment or our final self-assessment. And I want you to tell me on a scale from 1 to 5 using your fingers, how confident do you feel you now know how different people travel in different environments? So if you think, oh, I really don't know, Miss Nagy, you can hold up 2 fingers. Or, no, you know what? I learned a lot about how different people travel in different areas. You can hold up 4 or 5 fingers. So at this time, please show me your self-assessment of how you feel different people travel in different environments, okay? All right, good. So I feel confident that I did a pretty good job, okay? And some of you are being honest. You're like, oh, about 4, which I can understand that. Oh, you guys are good. You don't have to keep your hands up anymore. And I can understand that because we didn't go into extreme detail of how different people travel. We just kind of went on the surface and we talked about some stuff. So I kind of appreciate the 4s and being honest with me and saying, you know, I'm okay with it, but I don't know everything I should about traveling. Okay, so what we will do now is we will have a 5-minute break, and then when you come back, we'll have a 5-minute break, and when you come back, I'm going to explain reading small groups, and then we will go into them, okay? So please potty, use the bathroom, eat a quick snack, drink something, and come back to me at 9:40. So at this time, if I call your name, stay in the meeting. If I don't call your name, you're going to come back into the meeting at 9:50. Jamarcus, Antonio, Quentin, Kane, Jayla, and Soraya. Okay, so we will begin our small group reading because we are extremely far behind. This group should have been done at this time. Okay, so reading small group week 1. Today, what we will be talking about is introducing the theme of our book, introducing some vocabulary, and if we have time, we will be doing what is called a picture walk and a prediction, okay? And I will go through all of it for you. Okay, so I got a question for you guys. Who has ever tried to make like a recipe, like cook something, but then realized they ran out of an ingredient? So who's ever like tried to make something and like ran out of an ingredient? Like say you tried to make chocolate chip cookies and then you realized you ain't have no chocolate chips. Quentin? So you want to tell us about the recipe?
So yeah, Kool-Aid.
What was your missing ingredient?
So I was liking like the orange Kool-Aid a bunch, but we ran out of orange Kool-Aid, so we couldn't get orange Kool-Aid no more.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like watery. Okay. So Raya, have you ever made like a recipe and then realized you was missing an ingredient? No? Okay, so she's like always organized and prepared. Good. Kane, have you ever made a recipe and like was you missed an ingredient?
Yes, I have many times.
You want to tell us about one of them?
I can't remember any of them right now.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. And I'll tell you what, one of the most frustrating thing is when I'm making dinner and I'm excited for this recipe and next thing I know, I don't have one of the main ingredients. That's horrible. So the reason why I bring that up is because our story for this week is about a bear who runs out of berries for his pie and he has to solve his problem. So we have to figure out how this bear is going to solve his problem. So our story is called Berries, Berries, okay? And I'm going to ask you guys right now, I'm going to ask you guys a couple of vocabulary to see if you understand what these words mean. So can anyone tell me if they know what the word den means? Do you know what the word den means? What if I told you a bear den? Yes, you can go ahead, Quentin.
Cave?
It's kind of like a cave. Good, okay? So, could anyone tell me what cupboard means? Does anyone know what a cupboard is? What's a cupboard? Miss Nagy has cupboards in her house. No? You don't know? Okay, Soraya?
It's where you can put all your stuff.
Good job. So a cupboard has like shelves and stuff like that for you to put your belongings in. All right, so good job. So we know den is a cave. A cupboard is an area that has shelves that you can put stuff in. Can anyone tell me what educated means? What does educated mean? Quentin, what do you think?
Being smart.
Being smart or learning something new, right? Good job, Quentin. You're on point today. Who can tell me what the word improved? Improved, meaning past tense. What does that mean? What does it mean to improve something? Quentin? And it's okay, guys. You can go more than once. Because when you say your answers, we're all learning together. So what does it mean to improve?
So like when you're like not learning something, you haven't learned it yet, and like you're doing everything wrong, just calm down. You just gotta practice.
Okay, so that's kind of a way to look at something and try to improve. But improving means just making something better, right? So improving a recipe, you can always improve a recipe by throwing in some chocolate, right? So that's what improve means, just meaning making something better. And who can tell me what the word inspired means? Inspired. What does the word inspired mean? Soraya.
So like when a food is inspired.
Oh, so we're kind of talking about like inspiring, like you really want to do something, like you're inspired to do something, or if someone is doing a speech or something and it's moving and it's amazing, it could be inspiring to make you want to do what the speaker is doing. Okay, so we have about 1 more minute on this small group, and I really was hoping that we could do our picture walk and prediction today. But today we're just going to talk about our vocabulary because this vocabulary is important to our story. So I want you today to kind of think of how these words will probably showcase themselves in our story about our little cave bear running out of berries for his pie, okay? So you guys were on point. A den is a cave or a shelter for a wild animal. A cupboard is a closet or cabinet with shelves or clothes and for clothes, dishes, or pretty much anything you want to put on those shelves. Educated is learning something new. Improved is making something better. And inspired is becoming excited or encouraged to do something. Okay, so I want you guys to think about those words tonight. And then tomorrow when we do our picture walk and prediction, we'll be introduced to those words. Okay, so my first group, you can totally step out and you'll come back to me at 11:10, okay? All right, guys, so today for our reading, since we're running a little bit behind because virtual teaching takes a while, we are not going to do our picture walk and prediction today. But what we will be doing today is an introduction to our book's theme and our viewing of our vocabulary words. So I have a question for you guys. Were you ever curious and wanted to discover or learn something new? So you may raise your hand if you were ever curious about something and really wanted to learn something new. Kendra, and am I saying your name right, sweetie? Okay, yes. Yay! Okay, so Kendra, what is something that you were really curious about?
To discover something, a new animal, a new species.
Oh, I like that. So kind of like you're curious to see if you can find new life. I like that. All right, Gabriella, would you like to share?
One time I asked what was clothes made of, and Dad said wool, and I said, what is wool made of? And he kept saying stuff, and I kept asking and asking and asking and asking, and I keep doing that. Like right now, I'm curious of what computers are made of. So if I were to ask what a computer is made of, I keep asking about that thing, and you tell me.
Good. So yeah, that's just the repetitive question, why? So we are going to move into our vocabulary for the day. The reason why I bring that up is because your week's story today is about a curious duck and a farmer discovering and learning something new. Okay? So now I'm going to go in and ask you if you know what these words mean, okay? So who can tell me what the word curious means? Who can tell me? Gabriella, you want to tell me what the word curious means?
The word curious means is like when you want to know something, you're curious.
Good job. I like her response, so we're going to move on to the next word. Who can tell me what effort is? Kendra.
It means you put your effort to something.
So you pretty much like gave it your all. You put in your best work, right? That's effort.
Yes.
Good job. Thank you, Kendra. You'll mute your mic. Who can tell me what discovery means? What does discovery mean? And this one can be kind of challenging. Who can tell me? Amani, you want to tell me what discovering means?
It means when you discover something.
So when you find something new, right? Or you learn something new. Discovery. And lastly, who can tell me what eagerly means? Eagerly. Oh, I saw that hand shoot up. Gabriella, what does eagerly mean?
Eagerly means kind of like when I was eagerly putting my hand up that time.
Right.
When I was eagerly wanting to eat.
Good. So eagerly is like overly excited. Like, you know, you're just like, I want something to happen now, or I want this now. Okay. Eagerly is, you're just overly excited. Okay. Guys, once again, we're on point. Curious means excited to learn or discover something new. Effort is completing something with hard work or to your best ability. Discovery, the act of finding something new or learning something new. And eagerly is a high desire to want or to do something or for something to happen, okay? Like a birthday to happen, right? Okay. So you guys did amazing. So pretty much what our objective was for that small group was just kind of to gauge you guys on your understanding or your pre-knowledge skills of some of the vocabulary words that you will be exposed to tomorrow as we begin looking into our story about our really curious duck and the farmer. Okay? So at this time, you may sign out, but you will come back to me. So make sure you look at that clock. You'll come back to me at 11:10. But pretty much what you're doing now is we're just moving into our writing. Okay? So the faster you guys get that done, good. So if you want, or, you know, since it's time and we're 10 minutes behind, please go click on the writing assignment. And if you need me to, I can read our new writing prompts for the week, okay? So I already have the writing assignment up. So while you're clicking on the writing assignment, I can read you the prompts so that you can pretty much see what you can choose from today. So number one says, write a short story about what it would be like if you woke up one morning with a mermaid's tail or a shark's fin. Number two says, if you were in charge of planning the school lunch menu, what foods would you serve each day and why? Okay, so you wouldn't just write, oh, I'd serve cake all day. You tell me, why would you serve cake all day? What would happen if you served cake all day, right? All right. Number three says, what are some of your favorite animals? What do you like about them? So you can choose more than one animal. And you would just tell me various facts or reasons why you like those animals. And maybe if you would like it as a pet, Number 4 says, imagine that dogs take over the world. What do they make the humans do? Maybe they might make humans, or no. Maybe they'll make humans, I don't know, poop on the floor the way they do. I don't know. But you can be creative. Number 5 says, write a story about flying to outer space and discovering a new planet. That'd be cool. And you can name it. You can even tell us what color it would be. If human beings can actually be on that planet without like a helmet, like they can breathe the air. What would we do on that planet? Would we make it just another planet Earth? Number 6 says, you are a mad scientist and have invented a new vegetable. What is it called? What does it look like? What does it taste like? And most important, is it safe to eat? Okay, maybe you can even tell us what recipe we can use it in. And finally, number 7 says, you go to school one morning to discover your best friend has been turned into a frog by an evil witch. How do you help your friend? So how would you defeat the witch? How would you transform your friend back? Would you just leave your friend like that and make your friend your pet frog, right? So just have fun with it. Those are the writings for this week. You can choose at this time, and we will finish our writing at 10:50. All right, guys, so at this time, congratulations, you finished the morning block. I know that was long. What you're going to do is you can turn in, however, if you wrote it by hand, you can finish it by hand. But remember, you have up until Sunday to complete this work. So even if you're not done, you have time. We will return from lunch at 11:50. So I'm actually giving you guys an hour and 10 minutes to relax. Okay, so at this time, come back at 11:50 and come back with your math textbooks because we're going into math. So what you will need, like I said, is your Go Math textbook. Make sure it says volume 1 because that's the one that we're going through. You need a piece of paper and a pencil because we will be going through like math problems. And then after the math block, we'll be doing the math small groups as well. We should be almost done soon, okay, guys? All right, so gotta share this screen. So, welcome to your first math lesson. We are doing Go Math lesson 1.1. Please don't go to the page yet. I'll let you know when you can go to the page. Just put your textbooks to the side. Okay, so for this lesson, you will need a paper, a pencil, and I keep saying that I'm going to change this, but you need a paper, a pencil, and your Go Math textbook. Totally messed that up. But okay, so you need your Go Math textbook. So right now I want you to put all of that to the side because you're not going to use any of that for the next 15 minutes. What we will actually be doing is Mrs. Nagy is going to show you a interactive video. You guys probably already seen this in your other prior like grades because we all use the same system. So we'll be doing an interactive video and I'll be calling on some of you to answer. Most of you know my morning jars, which have your names on a stick. Well, I also have this jar when we do lessons. It's called Cold Call. And all of your names are on this stick. So the reason why I have this is because it's very common for students to simply like zone out and just listen to me and not really focus on the work. So what I do is when it is actually time to start answering math questions, I will choose a name from this stick and you will answer. So that's my way of making sure that you stay on task because nobody wants to get their stick pulled and then they have no idea where we are. So this is just my incentive to make sure that you stay on track because at any time your stick can be pulled to answer. Okay, so here we go. So the first thing we'll be doing is our Go Math interactive video. And it's this cool little rabbit dude that's going to talk to us. So our essential question of the day, and he'll say it again, is how can you use properties to explain patterns on the addition table.
Hi there. Today is the day of the Great Hot Air Balloon Festival. It happens every year about this time. Finn and I have been counting the number of balloons that have floated by. Let's see how many balloons we have counted. So far, Finn and I have counted 9 red balloons and 5 blue balloons. I can find the total number of balloons by finding 9 plus 5. But Finn knows a different way to find the sum. His way uses a property of addition. Let's learn about addition properties to find the total number of balloons.
A pattern is an ordered set of numbers or objects. The order helps you predict what will come next.
Okay, so before we move on, he's pretty much saying that a pattern helps us to figure out what comes next. So if we see 2, 4, 6, 8, we realize that the pattern is adding by 2. So if the final number we see is 8, we can predict that the next number will be 10. That's all he's saying.
You can use an addition table to explore patterns. Here's an addition table. Look across each row and down each column. What pattern is there?
So we're just pretty much looking at the rows and the columns, okay? So we notice here that, and remember, this is an addition chart. This is not multiplication. So this is just adding. It's not multiplying. So if we look at 1, we notice that the patterns are 1 plus 1 equals 2, 2 plus 1 equals 3. So we know that when we count by ones, the number just goes up by ones. Just like in the row, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we know that the pattern of counting by ones is just going to the next number. So if someone had the pattern of 1 and we were at 7, we would know that the next number is 8 if you just count by 1.
The numbers increase by 1, which means that 1 is added to each number. Shade the row for the addend 0.
Okay, so now we have 0, okay? 0, so we add.
Now shade the column for the addend 0. Compare
down.
the shaded squares to the yellow row and the blue column. What pattern is there?
So now I'm going to pull a stick to see who would tell me what pattern they see compared to the... Okay, so Jamarcus, I want you to unmute your mic. And these questions are very, very simple, okay? So Jamarcus, please unmute your mic. And pretty much he's just asking, what do you notice about the numbers going down compared to the numbers going across? What do you notice?
They both are the same numbers, but
yes.
Just different sides.
Good job. So that's what they're saying. These patterns help us to predict what is next. And patterns are pretty much like always the same as long as we stick to said pattern, okay? So yes, the numbers are the same. That's what he's trying to show.
The numbers are the same. The identity property of addition states the sum of any number and 0 is that number.
Pretty much what he just said about identity property, they try to confuse you, but I'm going to show you a video of Mrs. Nagy because first of all, I forgot to tell you guys, Mrs. Nagy this year has started a YouTube channel for our classroom. And so she makes videos for you guys to know kind of like the math strategies and stuff like that, right? So she's going to show you her own video of what identity property is, okay? Because sometimes these videos can be hard and tricky, and Miss Nagy tries to simplify it, okay? All right.
1.
So now we're going to shade in the row for 1.
And shade the column for the addend 1.
Okay, so I'm going to choose...
Compare the shaded squares to the yellow row and the blue column. What?
Okay, so all he's going to ask is, what do we notice about this shaded in row and this shaded in column? Okay, so I'm going to choose a student, and you are going to tell me, what do we notice? Okay, so did Jada join back in with us?
It keeps going up.
It pretty much just keeps going up, right? It counts by 1 because we are in the column 1. So it starts with 1 and it starts counting by 1. All right, thank you, Jada. You may mute your mic again.
What pattern is there?
Okay, so she pretty much told us.
The numbers are one more. It's like counting. You get the next number. This means that the sum is one more than the other number.
Oh, and I also...
How does the row for 1?
Hold up, because he's doing too much. And I also want to explain, he keeps using the word sum. The word sum just means like when two things are added up, the answer is the sum. So if you have 2 plus 2, the sum is 4. If you have 2 plus 1, the sum is 3. So don't get tripped up by the vocabulary. Sum just means like what's the answer when you add two things together.
Compare to the row for 0. Each number in the row for 1 is one more than the number above it in the row for 0.
Okay. So
How does the row for 1 compare?
He talks too much. What he's trying to do is, in essence, trick you. But all he's saying is that this is an addition pattern or an addition table. And that just means that the numbers keep going up by 1 because we add by 1 pretty much. Okay, so if we started off with 0, our next number is 1. If we were adding by 1, our next number would be 2. It's just simply counting by your fingers, guys. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all he's trying to say.
To the row below it for 2.
Okay, so before we do that, give me a show of hands. Just raise your hand. Do you know how to count? Okay, so you know that what's the next number after 1 is 2. What's the next number after 5? 6, okay? So that's all he's trying to say, okay? As long as you know how to count, that's all he's saying. All right, thank you, guys. You can put your hands down. And I just keep saying this because there's times where I don't like how confusing they try to do it. And I'm going to simplify it for you.
If you add 1 to each number in the row for 1, you get the numbers in the row for 2. What might you say about the relationship between each row in the addition table and the row after it?
Okay, so I'm just going to click this right quick.
If you add 1 to each number in a row, you get the numbers in the row below it.
Okay, so he's just trying to confuse you again. All we're trying to say is that when you look at this row, the numbers on the bottom of this row are one more. Just like if you go down, the numbers in this row is one more than that one. It just means counting. You go up, you count. That's all it is.
Shade all the sums of 4 orange.
Now, I want to check vocabulary right quick. Let me get this video. Okay, so Cervantes, I just pulled out your stick. Can you remind us what sum means? What's a sum? Okay, so remember, a sum is just the answer of two things being added up. So if you got the number 2 plus the number 2, what's the sum? It's 4. Okay? Just like if you add the number 5 plus the number 5, what's the sum? 10. Okay? So the word sum is just for the answer when you add, okay?
Let's write some addition sentences for the sum of 4.
So he had us go diagonal, okay? So he's going to show you all the different ways to add up 4. Now, I want to pause right here, and I want to show you guys something. Okay, so who can tell me what two numbers added up equal 4?
2 and 2.
There we go. Who can tell me two other numbers that when you add them up, they equal 4? Drake.
3 and 1.
3 plus 1, right? We can say that those two sentences equal 4, right? Cool, right? Now, I'm going to ask you this because this is what I'm showing you today. What if someone said, here's the number 3 and here's the number 1? Show me two ways that these numbers added together equal 4. So how can I set this up for it to equal 4? Noah.
The first one can be 3 plus 1, and the other one can be 1 plus 3.
Is he right? Do both of those still equal 4, even though the numbers are in opposite or different setup? Do these two sentences still equal 4? Does 3 plus 1 equal 4? Does 3 plus 1 equal 4? Yeah. Does 1 plus 3 equal 4? Yeah. This is called commutative property of addition, and this is what I'm going to be showing you today, okay? So he's going to try to confuse you, but I promise Miss Nagy got you. All right? Here we go. So this is what he's about to explain to you, but he's going to do it a little bit confusing. What I just showed you is the easier version, okay?
4 plus 0 equals 4.
But you see how he took two numbers and he just switched up the order, but they still equal the same? That's what he's about to do to the 3 plus 1, okay? He's going to switch up the order, and he's going to now put 1 plus 3 equals 4. So what they're trying to explain to you is the commutative property of addition, meaning two numbers, doesn't matter what order they're in, when they're added up, they equal the same, okay? So stay with me.
3 plus 1 equals 4, and 1 plus 3 equals 4.
So who can tell me what's the pattern that we see? What is happening here? Cervantes.
Alright, the pattern there is the numbers when they switching out.
Thank you. That was so simple and to the point. But you see how they do all this stuff trying to confuse you? It's just the two numbers are switching. That's it. That's all commutative property is. The numbers are just switching the order. That is all. Okay? Quentin, do you want to share what you wanted to share?
So it's basically saying however you put it, if you put 0, 4, 5, 6, or, however you put it, it equals that number.
Exactly. Good job. So if we had the numbers 9 plus 1, we know that equals 10, just like 1 plus 9 equals 10. Okay, so that's what they're trying to explain to you there. Okay, so
Each
if you
pair
have
of
your
addition
mic
sentences
unmuted,
has
please
the same
mute it.
addends, but the addends are in a different order. The commutative property of addition states that you can add two or more numbers in any order and get the same sum.
Okay, so I know you guys are probably confused and saying, why are we learning how to add in third grade? We already know this. And I know that you know this. I just have to go through the program. But I promise you that this is critical to pay attention to, because as I begin to teach you multiplication and division, you will still revisit commutative property, okay? So it's very important that you pay attention. Raise your hand if you don't know what an even number is, okay? So raise your hand if you do not know what an even number is. Okay, so you know that an even number means that these two numbers can be split up into a group and that each person has the same amount. So the way I like to explain it to people or to students is candy bars, okay? Imagine it's Halloween and for some reason your parents make you share your candy with your brother or your sister or your cousin or whoever, right? Just imagine for a second. I know that's like, I'm not sharing my candy. But let's just imagine for a second, right? And we have 2 candy bars. Is me and my brother going to have the same amount of candy bars if there's 2 of us and there's 2 candy bars? If we split it? Yeah, one gets one and one gets another. But what if we got 3 candy bars? What if we got 3 candy bars and mom said we can't break it apart? Is someone going to have the same amount as someone else? If we got 3 candy bars and we got to share it between 2 people? What do you think? No, one person is going to have 2 candy bars. And that's not fair unless I'm the person that has the 2 candy bars. Then it's fair, okay? But that is even in odd numbers, and he's going to show you how in a minute in the video, but it's very easy. All right, here we go.
What pattern do you see?
So here...
all the numbers are odd.
God, he talks too much. So here we see even numbers. That means that these numbers can be divided by 2 people or whatever, and they get the same amount. Odd numbers means that someone, if we had 3 candy bars and only 2 people, someone's getting an extra candy bar, right? That's what he's saying here. We know even numbers can be split evenly between 2 groups, and odd numbers means one person is getting more than the other person. So Quentin, I'm going to put up 2 numbers right now, and you're going to tell me if when you add them up, they're even or odd. You have the number 7 plus 1. What does that equal? Okay, so I saw your mouth. So he said 8, okay? And we all know that 7 plus 1 equals 8. Now I want you to notice here. Give me a thumbs up if you think 7 is odd. Is that an odd number? Is 7 odd? Yep. Is 1 an odd number? Yep. So are these 2 odd numbers? Yep. And what did we say? Odd plus odd equals even. Okay? And we'll practice that more as we go into our lessons. All right, but we're going to move on.
Sum of 2 numbers will be odd if exactly one of the numbers is odd. Complete the addition sentences to show the commutative property of addition.
Okay, so here we have the numbers. Give me 1 second because it looks confusing. But here we have the numbers 3 and we have the number 6, okay? So who can tell me the first way that we can set up these 2 numbers into a addition problem? Jamarcus, how can we do it? How can we put these 2 numbers? 3 plus 6. Now, what is another way? Noah, how can we switch the orders of these numbers using commutative property?
6 plus 3.
There we go.
3 plus 3.
So we got 6 plus 3. Now let's add them up. What's 3 plus 6? Who can tell
3
me
plus 3 is 9.
It's 9, right? And then Cervantes, what's 6 plus 3? Oh, I got you, so you commented. Okay. But we know 6 plus 3 is 9. So did it matter which order we put 3 and 6? It didn't matter what order we put that in. What was the number? 9. So that means that any 2 numbers, when added together, it don't matter what way you add them numbers, they equal the same. Okay, that's commutative property of addition. So now he's pretty much going to show us that here, right? So we said that 3 plus 6 equals 9. And then instead of starting off with the 3, we now started off with the 6. So we were like 6 plus 3 equals 9. So let's see if we're right. Okay.
Correct. 3 plus 6 equals 9, and 6 plus 3 equals 9.
See, and I didn't even do that. You guys did. Okay, you guys told me how to set it up.
Find the sum, then use the commutative property of addition to complete the related fact.
Okay, so we have 3 plus 4. Raise your hand if you know what 3 plus 4 is. Okay, Amani, can you tell me what 3 plus 4 is? She says 7. She kind of was still muted. Do we all agree that it's 7? Okay, right? So we all agree that 3 plus 4 equals 7. Guys, give me 1 second. My phone is going off. Sorry about that, guys. I'm coming back. Okay, so we agreed that 3 plus 4 equals 7. Let's check.
That's right. 3 plus 4 equals 7. Now complete the related addition sentence.
See, he's using weird words, okay? So what he's just simply asking is now, how will we switch up these 2 numbers to equal the same sum? So if we start off with 3, we're now going to start off with 4, okay? So we got 4 plus 3. Now before I put in the answer, give me a thumbs up if you think 4 plus 3 is going to equal 7. There you go. So 4 plus 3 equals 7, just like 3 plus 4 equals 7.
That's right. The related addition sentence is 4 plus 3 equals 7.
There we go. So I just want to look at you guys right quick. Who thinks this is too easy? Right? It's like, come on, man. We're in 3rd grade. Why are we learning how to count? But I promise it's going to get harder. All right.
Is the sum even or odd?
Okay, so
Select
hold on.
even or odd.
I'm going to choose a stick. Do we have Wilfred with us? Okay, so Wilfred, what's 3 plus 8? Give him a minute. And I think someone, oh, no cheating, Noah. He's very,
11.
It's 11, right? Who agrees that 3 plus 8 is 11? Okay, we all agree. Someone, thank you, Wilfred. Where's my thing? Okay, so we all agree that 3 plus 8 equals 11, but that's not what they're asking. Give me a thumbs up if you think the number 11 is even. Give me a thumbs up if you think the number 11 is odd. There you go. See, I don't even have to teach you guys that, right? The number 11 is odd.
That's right. The sum of 3 and 8 is odd because exactly one of the add-ins is odd.
Yeah, because the number 3 is odd, 8 is even, and we know that 1 odd plus 1 even equals an odd.
Now, let's
All
practice
right.
with the personal
So,
math trainer.
We're not doing that. So what we will be doing now is we will now be looking at Mrs. Nagy's way of showing you what identity property is. You can be like, oh my God, Miss Nagy, that's just so easy. Like, why can't we just do this? Okay, so I'm going to copy this link right quick. And then I am going to go to our YouTube channel right quick. And then I'm going to show you what identity property is and what commutative property of addition is. Okay.
Welcome back, boys and girls.
So I did this way before school started, so just pay attention.
Identity property is very simple. It just simply means a number plus 0 remains that number, or it keeps its identity. And what I mean is 1 plus 0 is 1. And as you can see, the 1 stayed and it kept its identity. 2 plus 0 is 2. Once again, 2 and 2. Any number plus 0 will remain that number. 3 plus 0 is 3. 4 plus 0 is 4. And 5 plus 0 is 5. As you notice, every number plus 0 remained its identity.
So I'm going to pause right there because that's all identity property is. It just means any number added with 0 stays the number. It doesn't change the number. It's the same number. So that's all identity property is. Okay, very, very simple. And then the final video I'm going to show you, which I don't even think you guys need to watch because you pretty much got commutative property of addition down. But for the sake of those who don't, we will watch a quick video of Mrs. Nagy explaining what commutative property of addition is.
And welcome back to Mrs. Nagy's classroom. Today, we will be talking about commutative property of addition. This is a very easy math strategy. It simply means when you are provided two numbers, doesn't matter what order you add those numbers up together, they equal the same amount. So I'll show you. We have the numbers 2 and 3. For the first equation, we decided to add the number 2 first. So we have 2 plus 3 equals, and we know that 2 plus 3 equals 5. In commutative property of addition, we're now going to switch up the order, and it's going to show that it doesn't matter which number you add up first, it'll equal the same. So in the first equation, we use the number 2. Well, in the second equation, we're going to start with the number 3. So now we have 3 plus 2, rather 2 plus 3. And if we add up, we know 3 plus 2 equals 5. So commutative property of addition just means you are provided two numbers. Does not matter which order you decide to add it in, it will always equal the same.
Okay, so that's where I'm going to stop there because I think you guys pretty much got it. I don't think we need to watch the remaining portions of the video. But before we move on, just give me a show of hands of who doesn't understand. Who doesn't understand this? Who's confused? Okay, give me a thumbs up if you're like, okay, Miss Nagy, I'm ready to move on. This is easy. Okay? All right, good. So let me go back to this thing. So now what I want you guys to do is take out your pencil and your paper that we were talking about earlier. So grab that right now, because we are about to move on into you guys actually doing work, okay? All right, so it says math review questions whole group. Whole group meaning all of us together, okay? So it says complete the addition sentences to show the commutative property of addition. So we're given two numbers here, 3 and 4, okay? So that means that I need to set up two different ways to add up these two numbers. So I will always start with the first number, 3. So that means 3 plus, hold on, let it click. 3 plus 4 equals 7, right? So now we were doing the commutative property of addition. We will now start with 4. So now we have 4 plus 3 equals 7, okay? So that's the commutative property of addition. So now we're going to move on to this one. We have the number 8 and we have the number 5. So we have to set it up two different ways. So we got 8 first. So I'm going to put 8 plus 5 equals 13. And now we're going to switch up that order because that's all commutative property of addition is. We're going to put the 5 first now, plus 8. And then we all know 5 plus 8 equals 13. So your task right now is to, on your paper, answer these two, okay? You don't have to like write all these weird things, but show me the two different ways that you can set up 7 plus 9 to equal 16, and the two different ways that you would set up 10 and 4 to equal 14. That's your job right now. I'll give you guys about not even a minute because this is too easy, okay? So you got about a minute to set that up. And then when I say time, you all will show me your paper and then we will do it together. Hold up your paper if you're done. All right, good job, guys. So put your papers down. Make sure your mics are muted. Now we're going to do it together. Okay, so you guys are extremely smart. We got the two numbers 7 and 9, okay? So we're just going to do 7 first. We got 7 plus 9, right? Because we just put those two together. 7 plus 9 equals 16. And since we got to do the commutative property of addition, we now just switching these two numbers up. So instead of doing 7 first, we're now going to do 9 first. It's as simple as that, guys. So 9 plus 7 equals 16. That's all this is. It's like super duper easy. So we got the number 10 and we got the number 4. So we start with the 10 first because it's just the first number. But we got 10 plus 4 equals 14. Just like if we put 4 plus 10 equals 14. Oops, sorry. 14. So that's all commutative property is, guys. I want you guys to focus on me. That's all it is. It's just two numbers. Don't matter what order you put it in. It's the same. We made good time. I'm surprised with that, okay? So our final thing, since you guys are super duper smart, we're going to talk about whether or not these sums are even and odd. So we have the number 8 plus the number 1. Who can tell me, why is that like that? Who can tell me what 8 plus 1 equals? Cervantes.
9.
8 equals 9. Now, Cervantes, is 9 even or odd?
Odd.
It's odd. Who agrees with him that it's odd? There we go. Good. Thank you, Cervantes. You can mute your mic. So, we have it as 9, and this number is odd. Okay, so who can tell me what 9 plus 3 is? Who can tell me what 9 plus 3 is? Kane? And then Noah, you could do the next one, okay? So, Kane, what is 9 plus 3?
12.
It's 12. And is that even or odd?
Even.
It's even. Give a thumbs up if you agree with Kane that 12 is an even number. Good job. You are absolutely right, Kane. 9 plus 3 equals 12, and it is even. Final. Who can tell me what 4 plus 3 equals?
It is 7.
Good job. Now, Noah, is it even or odd?
Odd.
Good job. Give me a thumbs up, guys, if you think that number 7 is odd. Good. Okay, so now what we be doing, congratulations, guys. I'm going to call out the names for small group, and all you would bring to small group is your math textbook, okay? We ran out of time, guys, and so for my second group, it's over. Please just give me a show of hands if you understand what commutative property of addition is. Okay, good. Okay, so it's just switching up its numbers. Good job. All right, so what we're going to do now, guys, is we are going to take a break because math is challenging virtually. So we are going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to move into science.
Miss Nagy?
Yes. Okay, guys, start slowly coming back to me. Now, I'll tell you what. We're almost done. All we got is science, which is really easy. And then we're going to read Old Yeller, and we're going to be out. Okay? We are almost done. Because if I'm tired, I know you're tired. Okay? And I'm tired. I'd rather do this in the classroom. All right, so let's move into science, okay? We're just going to bust it out, and I'm going to try to go a little bit fast so I can get you out of this so that you can enjoy the rest of your day, okay? So what we'll be learning today is about forces, okay? So I'm going to ask you guys to take another self-assessment. Using your fingers on a scale of 1 to 5, how well do you understand forces? Show me. With your fingers, how well do you understand forces? So I got some 3. I got 3s. If you don't know what a force is, put up 1. If you're like, oh, Miss Nagy, I know forces like the back of my hands, put up a 5, okay? All right, so most of you are in the middle. So our essential question for today is, how do forces affect the motion of objects, okay? I want you to think about that. How does motion or how does forces affect objects? A force is a push or a pull, okay? So if I physically take my hands and push you, that's a force. How does me putting my hands on your chest and pushing you with all my might affect you? Who can answer that? How does me pretty much putting my hands and pushing you with all my might affect you? Cervantes.
I'm going to fall on the ground.
You're probably going to fall, or even if, say for example, I'm not like too much stronger than you, let's say you only budge a little bit, okay? Let's say you just go back a little bit, okay? But let's all agree that if I was to push you, your body would move, right? It would move away from me. Thank you, Cervantes. Now I got this question. Because a force is a push and a force is a pull. Now, what if I grabbed you by your shirt and yanked you to me? What would physically happen to you? Gabriella. If Miss Nagy was to physically push you, you would go away from her. Okay? Your body would go away from her. But if she was to grab you and pull you, you would come near her. Okay? So forces is a push and a pull. You push things away, or you pull things towards you, okay? Quentin, you may respond.
And what they call them is force push and force pull.
Absolutely. So another example of this, the way you guys can understand, is think about tug of war, okay? In tug of war, you're practicing the force of pull, okay? You're pulling the people to you, okay? You're pulling the people to you. Ashlyn, give me 1 second. But if you were playing basketball and you threw the ball to the hoop, you're practicing push because you're pushing the basketball away from you, okay? So that's just all that push and pull forces are. You either push something away from you or you pull something to you. And then we'll watch a couple of supporting videos so that you can understand in a more visual content what push and pull is. Think about what causes the motion of objects to change. Forces are at work all the time in the universe. That is a good thing because forces are very important in the way that the universe works and to life on Earth. For example, forces keep Earth in an ideal position as it moves around the sun because the sun pulls Earth with just the right amount of force. Forces even help the tiny parts that make up your body stay together. Can you imagine what your body would look like if these parts were not held together by forces? What are some forces you experience each and every day? I'ma see who can tell me what is the one force that is acting on us no matter what. Drake?
Gravity.
Gravity. There we go. Gravity is a force. It is pulling or pushing you to the ground so that you don't fly away into outer space. Okay? So gravity is a force. Okay? So I got a question for you. If I was to take my chair from out from under my desk, which force am I practicing?
Force pull.
I am using the force pull because I'm pulling my chair out. Now, if I put my chair back inside, which force am I practicing? Which force am I gravitating if I don't want to use the word, but if I put my chair underneath my desk again? Drake?
Push.
I'm doing push. So think of it like this. Think this is like my desk, okay? If I go away from my desk, I am pushing. But if I come near my desk, I'm pulling, okay? All right, so let's look at a couple of videos to help you kind of understand this awesome concept. Now, we're going to watch a video with a roller coaster, okay? And what I want you to focus on is what happens to the speed of the roller coaster when it goes up and what happens to the speed of the roller coaster when it goes down. And after we watch that, I want you to tell me why you think this happens, okay?
Roller coasters, let's do it.
So remember, you're going to focus on what happens to the speed going up and what happens to the speed going down. Okay, so we saw that roller coaster, okay? So, Quentin, can you share with me what happened to the speed of that roller coaster when it went up? Not when it went down, but just when it went up.
Gravity was pushing it up.
So you think that when it went up, first of all, let me ask you a question. When it went up, was it fast or slow?
Slow.
It was slow, okay, Quentin? So remember that when the roller coaster was going up, it was slow. And the reason why is because the roller coaster was fighting against gravity, okay? So this is gravity, and the roller coaster is going up, but gravity wants to push it back down. So the roller coaster is going slower and slower because gravity is pushing down. But what happens when that roller coaster goes towards gravity? What happens to the roller coaster when it goes down? And I'm going to let someone else answer, Quentin, because I'm so thankful for your input. Drake, what happens when that roller coaster goes down?
It goes faster.
It goes a lot faster. Why do you think it goes a lot faster?
Because the gravity wants it to go down, not up.
Exactly. So give me a show of hands if you've ever tried to ride a bike up a hill. Okay? Now, you probably struggling, right? You're like, it's hard, right? But what happens when you get up that hill with your bike and then you go down? You go extremely fast, right? Sometimes it's so scary how fast you go that you have to like hit them brakes, right? So what is happening is that when you go up, gravity is trying to push you back down, but you're trying to fight to go up. But when you go down, gravity is pushing you all the way down, and so you go fast. Yes?
Well, a car, gravity ain't got no chance because the car is way heavier and faster and stronger.
Not true. Not true. So if a car, we talked about this earlier. You remember when a car starts sliding down? If a car is going against gravity, in essence, it's going up, gravity is pushing it down. And what happens to that car when it's not stronger than gravity? It starts falling down, okay? All right. Someone has their, okay, so Cervantes, I'm going to mute you now. All right, so our main goal today was to just see how gravity affects objects, okay? So we just talked about what happens to this roller coaster when it goes up and when it goes down. And we just learned that when a roller coaster goes up, it's fighting against gravity, so it's going slower. But as soon as that bad boy shoots down, gravity pulls it towards the earth. That's why it goes so fast, okay? And I also asked you what happens when you try to, this poor guy right here struggling to get up this hill. When you go up a hill, it's very hard because you're riding against gravity. But as soon as you get to the top of that hill and you go down, gravity is going to pull you with all its might, and you're going to go super duper fast, okay? So in the next 2 weeks, you will be learning about the two forces known as push and pull. An example of this is pushing your chair in and pulling your chair out. So now I'm going to ask you guys, is this example a push or pull? Gluing paper onto a board. Who can tell me if that's a push or a pull action? Kendra, gluing paper onto a board. Push or pull?
It's pulling.
It's actually pushing, because if you ever think of putting a piece of paper to a board, you push that paper onto the board, right? You push it. But if you were ripping that paper off, you're pulling, okay? But if you're putting paper onto a board, you're pushing. Okay, another one is, and thank you, Kendra, you can mute your mic. Picking a fruit off of a tree. Push or pull? Quentin. And then, Soraya, you can do the next one. Picking.
It's push.
It's actually pulling. It's actually pulling. Because you're taking the apple and you're pulling it off of the tree. You're pulling it.
I said that on an accident.
It's okay, buddy. I knew you know.
I know it's pull, but I accidentally said push.
Good. It's okay, Quentin. All right, you may mute your mic. Throwing a rock into a lake. Push or pull? Soraya, you want to try that out? Throwing a rock into a lake. Push or pull?
Push.
Good job. It's push because you're throwing it away from you. But if you were catching a rock, that would be pull. Okay? So if you throw some away from you, that's push. All right, and Noah, you can answer the final one. Tearing paper from a notebook. Push or pull?
Pull.
It's pull because you're ripping it out. You're pulling it towards you. Okay? Good job, guys. So now I got this fun little activity for us before we take our last 5-minute break and then read Old Yeller. I am going to read this to you, and then you're going to have a minute to think how you're going to take this truck out of this mud, okay? So, what would you do? A car is stuck in the mud and its battery does not work, so it can't be started. You have tried to get the car out of the mud by pushing it. The car would not move at all. What can you do to make the car move? Give a reason based on what force you're using. So, your job right now, and I know most of you already want to answer, But give yourself 30 seconds, okay, to think of how you would take this truck out and if you would use a push or a pull force, okay? Take about 20 more seconds. How would you take this truck out of this mud? King, you may stare first and I'll go down the line.
A tow truck.
A tow truck. Is that push or pull?
Pull.
It's pull. Good job. So he would use a tow truck. Who would use something different? Connor?
I would gather a lot of people, and I would pull it out with them, and I would get some people in the front to push it.
Okay, good. So he would use both forces. He would have someone in the front kind of pulling it while people in the back are pushing.
I will crash a car into the truck. Maybe we'll get pushed out. But
You're just going to get the other car stuck. You're just going to get the other car stuck if you drive into the mud.
Well, if then that happens, I'm just going to get a lot of people to pull it out.
Okay.
You know, you could put, like, chains on it before, like, going into the mud, or you could grab the mud and then put it to a dry place and then grab another truck and then, you know.
So just constantly, like, kind of like pulling it. Okay, so you guys were on the money, okay? So pretty much either getting a ton of people to push that bad boy out or to get a tow truck to pull it out. Okay. So I want to give you guys our final 5-minute break before we read our page and a half of Old Yeller, and then we're done, okay? So return back to me at 1:43. Okay, guys. We're not back yet, but I just want to address something. We're all here to learn. And I appreciate if you use the chat section to help out another person, but that is not there for you to talk during our lessons or to be rude to anyone. I'm not cool with that. I'm a very nice teacher, but I can switch it up real fast, okay? So when I see that we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, then I'm going to get upset, okay? Because I hold my students to a higher standard. And what that means is during class, we're learning, okay? So I'm not going to call anyone out, but I'm seeing a massive issue with following our expectations. And I know one of our expectations is to stay focused. And what I just read in the chat bar, that was not staying focused, okay? We are also told to stay focused, which means that you're not chilling with your sister, you're not hanging out with your brother or your cousin or listening to music, okay? I'm not going to call anyone out, but Mrs. Nagy is very observant, and I can tell when you're not focusing, okay? And then the issue is going to be that when you actually come to class, you're going to be like, Miss Nagy, I'm lost. But I'm pretty sure if I show this recording to your parents or something, they can say, oh, Miss Nagy's doing her job, okay? So you are a great bunch of kids, but we need to use the platform right, okay? So if you got a question, if you lost, please don't hesitate to hold up your hand and be like, Mrs. Nagy, I'm lost. I will stop immediately and make sure that you're back on track, okay? All right. I hate to have to do a rant like that, but no. Our time is precious when it comes to learning, okay? One thing I also don't do is I don't like to make people feel bad by saying names or anything like that. I just try to address the issue as a class. I will never put you on blast. I will never say, oh, you're not doing something right and say your specific name. I will just be like, hey, guys, as a collective, we need to do this, not this, okay? So at any time that you are about to, tell me something and you have to use another student's name, please wait until after class because I never want you to put another student like pretty much in the light where they're embarrassed. So let's not do that, okay? This is a happy, loving community. All right, guys. We are now going to read our 1.5 pages of Old Yeller. The last time we left off, Travis's mom was like, hey, dude, you got to go out and you gotta kill us a deer because this new dog ate up all our meat for the winter. So you gotta go shoot this deer or whatever. And then Travis was out with Jumper the mule, and he stuck his finger in his mouth and went like this and was checking for the wind, and there was no wind. Okay. All right, here we go. I half circled the licks till I had the breeze moving across them towards me and took cover under a wild grapevine that hung low out of the top of an oak tree. I sat with my legs crossed and my rifle cradled in my knees. Then I made myself get as still as the tree. Papa had taught me that way back when I was little, the same as he had taught me to hunt downwind from my game. He always said, it's not your shape that catches a deer's eyes, it's you moving. If a deer can't smell you and can't see you move, he won't know you're there. So I sat there holding as still as a stump, searching the clearing around the oak tree. The licks was a scattered outcropping of dark rocks with black streaks in them. The black streaks held the salt that Papa said had got mixed up with the rocks a couple of years ago. I don't know how he knew what had happened so far back, but the salt was there, and the hogs and the cattle and wild animals in that part of the country came there to lick it. One time, Papa said when he and Mama had first settled there, they'd run clean out of salt and had to beat up pieces of the rock and boil them in water. Then they used the salty water to season their meat and cornbread. And those were the best times to come for meat. The killer animals like bear and panthers and bobcats knew this and came to the licks at the same time. Mute your mics, guys. Sometimes we'd get a shot at them. I'd kill 2 bobcats and a wolf and while they were waiting for the deer. And once Papa shot a big panther right after it had leaped on a mule and broken its neck with one slap of its heavy forepaw. I hoped I'd get a shot at a bear or a panther this morning. The only thing that showed up, however, was a little band of javelina hogs, so pigs, kind of like pigs. I knew better than to shoot them, make a bad shot and wound one so that he went to squealing and you had the whole bunch after you ready to eat you alive. They were small animals. Their tushes weren't as long as those of the range hogs. Give me 1 second. We had running wild in the woods. They couldn't cut you as deep, but once hogs got after you, they keep after you for a lot longer. Once Jed Simpson's boy Rosal shot into a bunch of hogs and they took after him. They treed him up like a mosquito and kept him there from early morning to long into supper time. The mesquite was a small one, and they nearly chewed the trunk of it in 2 tryings to get to him. After that, Rosal was willing to let the hogs alone. Okay, so that was our reading today. That was our page and a half. Before I recap, what would you like to say, Drake?
So you know how well in the story they said their dad shot 2 bobcats or whatever. They're big.
Yes, bobcats are. I wouldn't want to see one. Let's just say that much, okay? I wouldn't want to see one.
I seen them the other day.
Ooh, no. All right, Quentin, you want to share? Because we're kind of like talking about what our story was about today, and then we'll do our final thoughts, guys, and we'll be out. Okay, so Quentin, you want to share?
So, the panda or some
Panther. You know, like that black cat? You know, that big old black, yeah, panther.
The panther snapped.
Oh, I know what scene you're talking about. You're talking about how he shot a panther, or his dad shot a panther when he was hunting for deer, and the panther went to go chop on the hog. Yeah. All right. Does anyone else want to share about our book today, and then we'll move on to our final thoughts? Drake, you may add.
What if
the dad lost his bullets for the gun or whatever.
Well, if the dad just like
how would he kill him?
I think he would just leave, because the thing about deers and stuff like that is their sense of hearing is so strong that, like, even if you just like snap a little twig underneath your foot, they'll hear it and run away. But their sight really isn't that strong. So with that, you want to stay really far away from them. So, if the dad would have like ran out of bullets or something, I'm pretty sure he would have just left, because there is no way you're walking up on a deer. There's no way. Well, that's not true, because like the other day I was running on this track a little ways over, and there was like a hole in the fence by the woods, and there was like this. I almost panicked, because when I was running towards it, oh my God, I thought it was a mountain lion. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared.
A mountain lion?
Yeah, but then when I went towards it, it was just a little baby deer, and I was like, oh, okay. But I did. I stopped in my tracks for a minute. I was like, oh my God, is that a mountain lion? I was scared for a minute. I was scared. Okay, guys, so we're now going to move into our final thoughts. I am not going to hold you up that much longer. Give me 1 second, Quentin. I'm not going to hold you up that much longer, because I did say what I needed to say in regards to staying focused and the expectations. Starting tomorrow during morning meeting, I am going to start going over the expectations again. And after starting tomorrow, if I continue to see the expectations not being respected, I am going to start calling home. Okay? Because this is not time to play. You guys already know what I expect, and I've seen you do it, so I know you know how to do it. Okay? And nowhere during this time should we become too comfortable or too complacent. Okay? So yeah, I think we need to work on remembering what the expectations are and following them expectations. Okay? Quincy, you want to share, and then Connor, and then I'm gonna let you guys go.
So I don't really think we did all good today. We did good today. I don't really have one.
Okay, we did good. Thank you, Quentin. I appreciate that. Who was the other one who had their hand up? Connor.
Okay. I think we did really good on everything.
Thank you, Connor. You're so sweet. You're so like you're just always so happy. Thank you, Connor.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I just want to say this was a long day. I know it was challenging, but teachers are now forced to make you come to school like it's a full day of school. I'm thinking about switching some stuff up. I'm thinking about taking writing out of like the daily thing and just having you do that on your own time at home. It'll still be an assignment, but it's really long, okay? So I'm thinking about it. I don't know it yet, but I just want to say you guys did a great job. You made it, and I wish you have the best rest of your day, okay? All right, guys. Bye. See you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Bye, guys.